Arlette, thank you. Let's bring in our panel. Joining us live, Fabian Nunez is the founder and managing partner of the consulting firm Actum, and Matt Klink is a Republican strategist and owner and president of Klink Campaigns Incorporated. Gentlemen, welcome back. Do Democrats have a vetting problem? Here is what Sidney Kamlager-Dove, Democratic congressperson from Los Angeles, said on our show last night.
Asking Maine voters to put their moral compass on the shelf because you have folks that put vibes over vetting. They should have vetted this candidate, and they should have really had a serious conversation about if he was viable to go the distance.
Vibes over vetting. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's I think what I said in the last, similar to what I said in the last segment. I think, when you're running for such a high stakes race, for control of the U.S. Senate, the most powerful body in government next to the presidency, and you don't spend the $30,000 to $40,000 it costs to do a proper opposition research on your own candidate that you're running, and you're going to put on the ballot, and you're going to ask Democratic voters and Republican voters and independent voters to consider your candidate as the Democratic nominee in that state. I mean, it feels to me like a miscarriage of the democratic process of justice.
So who is that? Bernie Sanders? Is that Elizabeth Warren? Because he was not the choice of the establishment Democrats. He was not the choice of Chuck Schumer. He was the choice of this progressive wing, this Bernie Sanders wing.
I think it's the progressive. I think the progressive wing needs to take a full account of how they came to the conclusion that this individual was the right candidate to run for the U.S. Senate, and to put their support behind someone who has done such a horrible job, even in trying to address the issue, which he did today on camera. I mean, it looks pathetic at best.
Matt, there's this fight right now between the progressive wing and the more establishment wing for the soul of the Democratic Party all around the country, not just in Maine.
Yeah.
And does this sort of hurt Bernie Sanders? Does this hurt the progressives around the country as they're saying, trust us?
It's hard because, look, the moderates are typically not passionate. Progressives are passionate. And what you saw was Graham Plattner in Maine. He checked all of the top line boxes. He's white, he's male, he's ex-military, he's anti-establishment, he's progressive, and he's super liberal.
And he's an oyster farmer.
Well, yeah, exactly.
For his mother.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But he checks all these top line boxes, and then the most passionate people in the Democratic establishment in Maine, they all jump in behind him. And then the national political people, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, keep ticking off the check marks. They all jump in behind him. And he had immense flaws. I could have told you when the first couple, peccadillos came out.
Yeah.
There was a lot more. People were talking about it.
But in this process, one of the things that you do when you're vetting candidates for whatever group you represent, whether it's on the Republican side or on the Democratic side, is you need to look for individuals that mirror the communities that they're going to represent. Meaning that if you're if you're in one of these swing states, you need a more moderate individual to run, because that's who people are going to gravitate towards. You can't necessarily use same party politics that tend to be divisive. Sometimes they're more divisive and more polarizing than when you're dealing with partisanship. And that group of people, ultimately, what they need to really do is think back to what it takes to win these seats, which is you have to have a supply of candidates that mirror the views of the people in the state. Because Susan Collins, by any definition, is not very well liked in that state. So you could have elected anybody with a D next to their name.
Winning elections, she's pretty good at that.
She's pretty darn popular.
But let's, I want to interrupt you because we have some breaking news. We want to take you to Maryland at Joint Base Andrews. President Trump has just touched down. This is a live picture of Air Force One. The new Air Force One is pulling in. There was an incident due to security where they took part of the trip on the old Air Force One out of Turkey. It went to the UK at a base there. President Trump got on the new Air Force One, and that is now just touched down. It is after 1 o'clock in the morning. This is a long and quick trip that President Trump has made, although that's a pretty nice plane to fly on. And I'm curious for both of your thoughts on this NATO summit and where President Trump is coming out of it now after appearing on the world stage for the last couple days. Strikes with Iran, something he talked about while on that plane. We'll see if he talks as he gets off the plane soon. Fabian, your thoughts?
I mean, when he entered this war, he said it was going to be a quick war. He said within a couple of weeks it'll be over. And it isn't over. And I think that, you know, our NATO allies are very, very important to us. I think the president's message to them is a harsh message. Pulling the plug on this deal with Iran could have been the right thing to do because the Iranians are not easy to trust. They're not a good party to negotiate with to begin with. I think President Trump is reevaluating why he entered this war to begin with. It's a war that he got into. It's going to be very difficult for him to exit this situation. And things, I think, are going to go from bad to worse. And I think today, you could see it in his press conference, the frustration in his voice after he was denouncing the Iranians for not being honest and all the things that he said about them. But what's interesting to me more than anything is when I look at that brand new airplane, and I looked last week at how his financial disclosures, the candidate financial disclosures, and he showed all the money that he's made while he's been in office in just 1 year, over $2.3 billion. I mean, but yet taxpayers are funding this war.
Yeah.
And he's just making money.
Taxpayers fund every war, so let's be fair. But I mean, look, the larger point about NATO, I think that he extended more aid, military aid to the Ukraine, which should make Democrats and Republicans happy.
Yeah.
The challenge that I think that I have more than anything with Trump and Iran, he's mercurial. So he can have a position one day and then he changes his mind. We were just...
Or in the same day.
Well, correct.
We were in the same press conference.
We were just joking around. It's like, you know, Trump was like the last to know that the Iranians don't tell the truth when they're negotiating. Of course they don't.
Neither does he.
Potentially. The Iranians' goal is the IRGC. They want to keep the Strait of Hormuz fighting because then they can maintain the security apparatus internally. They don't want peace. They're going to drag this thing out, and that is a direct conflict.
So then why did he do this? And shouldn't he have known that? I mean, that's something that United States presidents have worried about for years, which is why so many presidents on both parties said we're not going to get into a war with Iran.
They were getting closer to a nuclear weapon, and the question now becomes, is America willing to go and do what it takes to ensure they've already weakened them dramatically, and a lot of their nuclear material is buried, but they're starting to restart their program. Yeah. So it's like either we got to win or we got to get out. But these half measures, they ain't working.
Yeah, right. And I mean, the fact of the matter is they weren't a real threat to us to begin with. They're a threat to the region for sure, but they weren't a threat to the U.S. And Netanyahu, the reason why we got in this war is, let's be honest, Benjamin Netanyahu persuaded Donald Trump to get into this war, something they've been trying to do for decades.
They are a threat. They were a threat to America, and they remain a threat to America. Democrats and Republicans have both said it.
All right, Matt, Fabian, thank you so much. We're going to sneak in a quick break. If President Trump speaks on the tarmac, we'll bring that to you when we come back.